Hi everyone. Here is the first installment of a video series I'm going to make that you can take a look at right before you finish or before you start your individual assignments. I'm going to call this What to Do, What Not to Do. And I'll just kind of focus on the biggest do's and don'ts that exist there. Anyway, for the mission statement, I would say the one biggest thing is not to advertise. So don't advertise at all. Um, People hate advertisements, and a mission statement is not for advertising. If a company wants to advertise, they can create an ad. So make sure you differentiate between the two. So here are some positive suggestions. Do. Make sure you write a document that informs the reader. That's what advertising really doesn't do. Advertising wants you to buy the product, and a mission statement is supposed to inform your reader. And the main questions in the reader's mind for a mission statement are, what does this company do, and what is its work? And by work, I mean they're asking, how do you do what you do? In what way do you accomplish your goals? So that is informative. One way you can distinguish the language between and advertising and mission statements is that a good mission statement talks about actions. So keep the focus on verbs. What you do, the actions. Well, that's basically it. The actions, verbs. Also, there are other considerations. Decide whether you are going to have a targeted or a broad readership. If it's targeted, you might be a company that decides to have separate mission statements. One for maybe outsiders, like customers, government agencies, stakeholders, and you might also have mission statements that are for insiders, which might be your employees. So keep that in mind. You don't have to cover everybody. And you might notice that the Dell mission statement, for example, really doesn't try to cover everybody. It's focused. So either way, if you want to go broad, make sure you're meeting that goal, but being targeted is fine. Now, write the language of your audience. Okay, that's obvious. You want to speak what they speak. You have to write in their register. So if you're writing to a younger group, you don't want to sound pompous or use business cliches all the time. So you want to write like they would write. Okay, think about your international audience. Nowadays, most mission statements are on the web, and so anyone in the world can read them. Make sure you're not putting in idioms that people wouldn't know or cultural information that they really wouldn't have a clue about. So always think of the language of your audience. Think about your international audience. That's the advice I've just given. So anybody on the web, click on it. You don't want them to be mystified. Motivating them just means don't bore them. Don't use the usual cliches like excellence or synergy, all that stuff. You don't want them laughing at your mission statement. You want them to feel pleased that they happen to get this information. And about length, need to know. The need to know principle. Not too short, not too long, and that's kind of a weaselly response. But basically, you want to consider that if you're going to make it short, that could be great, but you want to make sure it gets across the answers to the questions. What do they do? What do you do? And what is your work? If it's long, that's okay, I guess. It's hard to do well, but just make sure you break it up. So most people are reading mission statements on the web, you can't just throw, a couple pages of blocks up on the screen and expect them to read it. Okay, now let's go back to a few don'ts. Don't, well, as I said, advertise. Remember, that's a really big one. You want to make sure you don't. And I mentioned that good mission statements are based on actions. Don't write mostly nouns or adjectives, because that's the sign of a mission statement that's trying to sell you something. Your audience is not really in the market for buying. They want to know about the company. So don't write about the fabulous amenities, like you will have the most relaxing spa treatment on the planet. Write about what your company does. And finally, I said not to bore your audience. If you have a company that's aimed at younger people, that's fine. You can speak their language, but keep in mind that people do expect mission statements to be kind of business formal. So by business formal, I mean clear English. That's not pompous, because there's a lot of business jargon out there that makes people roll their eyes, but is not overly familiar. If you're using too much slang, it doesn't convey, or it doesn't instill a lot of confidence in your readers. So keep in mind all of these things. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm sure you'll have a better idea about all of this once you do the Google forum and the draft. But I'd just like to let you know what to do, what not to do. Okay, thank you.